Thank you for watching my revision of my American history notes, where I look at things I might have done before and maybe I want to do something different or add something, go deeper in some subject. Um, as I'm doing this, it kind of brings to mind things I want to see. So I'm going to talk about Abigail Adams. She was a different kind of first lady than Martha Washington. She was outspoken, and even John Adams' first mention of her in his diary when she was only 14 was that she was, quote, a wit. Her sharp tongue and strong views were part of her personality. Now, Morrison says that Abigail did not like the high society and snobbery of the Philadelphia elite. Abigail had married John Adams against her parents' wishes and continued to be her own person, as she often complained about how her duties kept her from having time for herself. By the time Adams took office, inflation had ruined the buying power of the president's salary, so that entertaining, which came out of his own pocket, was difficult and hard to afford. But she managed to tend to the president's social responsibilities and still save money. The president has discussed many important problems with her, and she most certainly had a say in his decisions. She did not like the new and unfinished federal capital at Washington. Speaking of Washington, the city called the District of Columbia, which had been laid out according to the plans of a French engineer, Major Pierre L'Enfant. He imposed a series of avenues laid out on a grid of numbered letters and streets. Thomas Jefferson, when he was Secretary of State under Washington, is said to have determined the sites for the Capitol and the White House when L'Enfant apparently quit in a huff, according to Morrison. William Thornton, a West Indies doctor turned architect, won a contest for the design of the Capitol. In 1801, the North Wing, called the Old Senate Chamber, now the Old Supreme Court, was ready to be used. The city itself was a scattering of new buildings between a forest and the Anacostia and Potomac rivers. Dublin born James Hoban received $500 and a city lot for the design of the White House. Now, much has been made by conspiracy theorists about the pagan gods of Rome and Greece adorning the Capitol building, that it was designed to mimic a pagan temple in Rome, and a great deal has been said that the White House is also the name for the second most important temple of pagan idolatry in ancient Babylon. First called the Presidential Mansion, it was referred to as the White House due to its white painted exterior after being burned and repainted during the War of 1812, according to some sources I found. Another conspiracy theorist idea you might find as you study the White House and our Capitol is the accusation that DC is laid out using Masonic and occultic imagery. Well, since many of our founders were involved in various Masonic orders, as were influential men all over Western Europe, I can buy the Masonic imagery. However, I found that I can take any city, or that matter, many structures in nature, and create all kinds of links to almost anything just by letting my imagination run wild. You study and decide what you think, and then present your arguments based on solid evidence, but I must pose a warning against basing a conclusion on incomplete evidence. This is the bane of all historians. Just the same, a great deal of been made up by conspiracy theorists that Masons were all engaged in the creation of a one world government. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about that next um, when I do my next episode. So please feel free to make comments, click like if you watch this, and talk to you next time.